Bombshell. What the hell is going on at Canarsa? How is it that every summer, every transfer window, every breath this club takes, the press, rivals, and even external interests are lurking to destabilize us? And this time, the protagonist of the novel, the chosen one, the center of attention and rumors, is Ferran Torres. If you're one of us and you feel that Barça must finally stop being a toy for rumors and external interests, subscribe and like right now, because here, we defend Barça without bias or manipulation. Yes, Ferran Torres, the same one many insist on ridiculing, the same one we ended up underestimating, the same one some pseudo-analysts tried to tear down, now finds himself in the eye of the storm because there's $1 million offer on the table. And what do the headlines say? His departure is imminent. Of course, as always, when a player starts regaining confidence in the Blaugrana jersey, when we start seeing commitment, sacrifice, important goals, the first thing they do is tear down the house from within. What are we talking about? A guy who arrived at Barça in the middle of a brutal crisis, when no one wanted to come. He signed by lowering his own salary, with all the pressure of a club that doesn't forgive, a press that unfairly compared him to historic forwards, and a public that, in part, let itself be manipulated by those who now celebrate each of his smallest mistakes with venomous headlines. But Ferran held on. And now, what's happening? Just as he starts lifting his head, just as he strings together decent performances, they already want to sell him as if he were a bargaining chip. Don't they realize what Ferran represents? What he embodies? I'm not just talking about goals, which could indeed be more numerous, but it's not just about numbers. I'm talking about an intense player, a guy who runs, who presses, who opens up spaces, who, when focused, multiplies the team's offensive dynamic. And now, they want to convince us that for a handful of bills, we should let him go. Seriously, who benefits from this? Because Barça, clearly, does not. What's curious is how rumors work. $1 million offer, interested club. His departure seems imminent. They did it with Frenkie, they did it with Araujo, they did it in their time with Dembélé and Neymar. And always the same tune. What's the point? When a player has market value, they spread that he's wanted by everyone to pressure Barça into giving him up, and when a player's level drops, they tear him down as if he were the worst signing in history. With Ferran, it's the first scenario that applies, the one where he's so good elsewhere that everyone wants him, but at the same time, he's worth nothing here. Where does that leave us? This is where we, the Cules, must stand firm, because we cannot allow ourselves to be dragged into the same cycle again. Sowing doubt, fueling rumors, illusions for the rival, and destabilizing us. Ferran Torres may not be Messi, nor Ronaldinho, nor Suarez, okay? But he is a valuable asset. He's a player who has shown that coming off the bench, he can break games, that he has a goal in him, that he covers himself like a warrior in decisive clashes, and in a club where the pressure is suffocating, that's worth gold. And let's be clear, because I'm saying it straight, there's no patience in the current Barça. We demand that young players become legends at 20 and that average signings be crucified for every mistake. How do we build a project like this? How can we demand consistency if every summer we think about dismantling half the squad? Ferran deserved time, and he's starting to justify it. But now, just now, the magic wand of the $1 million offer appears. Coincidence? I don't believe it. That's why I want us to think about this together. Do we want to be a club that, every season, sells what works for promises of easy money, or do we want, once and for all, to protect the players who sweat for the badge and give them confidence to grow? Ferran, with his ups and downs, has shown his will, his commitment, and his dedication. And that, at Barça, after the betrayals we've had to endure in the past, should be an untouchable value. It boils my blood, Cule brothers, because I feel that once again, they're preparing a move behind our backs that benefits the rival more than us. And I'm not going to applaud it, and I know many of you won't either. The first thing to say outright is that Ferran Torres is the victim of one of the most unfair narratives in recent years at Barça. From the moment he arrived, he was measured by the price, that famous figure the club paid for him in the middle of an economic crisis. The discourse was immediate. If he cost so much, he should perform like a historic superstar from the first minute. A deadly trap, because football, as those who carry the Blaugrana jersey in their hearts know, isn't governed solely by numbers or million-dollar signings. Here, what matters is the process, the trust, the ability to adapt to an environment as complex as Camp Nou, where demand devours without mercy. Ferran didn't arrive at Barça in a stable, winning context. Far from it. He landed in a wounded club, one that had just seen Leo Messi leave, one that was struggling to redefine itself amid a social, sporting, and economic storm. Any other player would have been crushed by the circumstances, but Ferran didn't run away, didn't look for shortcuts, didn't ask to escape. He put on the jersey and tried to show from day one that he was ready to carry that weight, even if it didn't always work out, even if he missed clear chances, too. Tell me, which forward who has passed through this club hasn't missed goals? Even Eto'o, even Villa, even Suarez? Now, tell me how many players have shown Ferran's resilience, coming back again and again without hiding, despite the ruthless criticism that only a cool player can endure. The media narrative has tried to fragment our perception. One day, he's painted as a clumsy, goalless forward. The next, he's presented as the object of desire for all of Europe. Here's the contradiction we must expose. If Ferran were as weak as some say, no one would offer a single euro for him. And if there really are big clubs willing to pay a fortune, why should we sell him short, when we've already made the investment and endured the entire adaptation process? If a player starts to be profitable, the cool logic should be to support him, not to liquidate him. Moreover, Ferran is the product of something we often forget at Barça, the internal fight. He's not a natural genius who does everything easily like Messi, but he's a tireless worker, a footballer who compensates with sweat for what he may lack in differential talent. This has enormous merit, because in a team filled with gems like GAVI, PEDRI, or LAMINE, we also need this kind of profile. Someone who doesn't give up, who fights for every ball, who reminds the opponent that they won't play comfortably. And pay attention, because in tight matches, this attitude has earned us goals that opened up games. Ferran still has room for improvement, and that's the great trap of this whole media circus. They want us to believe we've already seen everything from him, that there's nothing left to expect from what he's shown so far. And that's false. A footballer's evolution depends on confidence, the role he's given, and the environment. A Barça that supports him, that frees him from the price tag label, and that gives him continuity can see a much more decisive Ferran. If Ferran leaves, however, let's not be surprised to see him explode at another club and become the consistent player we never let him be here. And then, as always, we'll be the ones looking back and asking ourselves, why didn't we have patience? We must defend what is ours. We must defend Ferran, because deep down, every time we allow a player who has given his all to be taken from us like this, what we're doing is telling our rivals that we are a weak club, vulnerable, permeable to every rumor, and seduced by every quick buck. What angers me most in this situation with Ferran is the ease with which they want to impose external decisions on us. $1 million offer arrives, Barça can't resist, it's necessary to sell to balance the books. Always the same story. Of course, the club needs money, we all know that. But what kind of project is this? One that constantly sacrifices itself on the altar of balance sheets. Barça is not just any business, it's a sporting institution with a badge that weighs tons. And if we start selling every player who begins to lift their head, we will never build a solid backbone. Ferran is not dead weight. He's an asset who still has a lot to give, and his departure would be another blow to the team's stability. If we look at the whole picture, the rival press has understood very well. They establish an endless cycle in which ours always lose. First, they place Ferran at the center of mockery with labels like failed signing, goalless forward, or dead weight on the payroll. The fans, tired and weary of suffering, begin to doubt, to repeat these same messages, and the cool environment becomes poisoned. When Ferran responds on the pitch, when he scores important goals and brings offensive pressure, they instantly change their discourse. He has market value, now is the time to sell. So they turn him into an object of external desire and convince everyone that his main use is to fill us with fresh cash, and thus, we fall back into the trap of indirectly strengthening a rival. Haven't we learned from what happened with other players? Doesn't it still hurt to think of talents who left Barça and found their best version in other teams? Ferran's case threatens to be a new chapter in this macabre novel. Because here, we've always said it, playing for Barça is not easy. The jersey demands a high price, and few are willing to pay it without going through crises of confidence, through dark nights. Ferran has already paid that price. He has endured unfair criticism, public humiliation, the failure label, and yet he continues with a strong mentality, making the most of every opportunity. We're going to give up on all this progress just now, when he's starting to settle in. The most dangerous thing is that the narrative has also taken hold within the board. They talk about financial balance, the need to recruit other players, the famous fair play. And meanwhile, what we forget is the heart of the sporting project. The league isn't one with balanced budgets, it's one with committed players who know each other, who feel the jersey, and who give their all. Varane is part of this category, because whether we like it or not, he has never disappeared, nor been unjustly injured, nor hidden when the team needed him. He's been there, working in silence, and that, in times of mercenaries who only think about contracts, is worth much more than what some calculate in euros.